Are you finding that no matter how much you try to motivate yourself with a big fancy house, getting a ton of money, fancy car, tons of beautiful women, it never seems to last long enough? That the minute you start moving towards it, it just loses all value. And today I'm going to explain why it's not resonating, because it also hasn't resonated with me. Let's go right to the chase. You are a soul-led man. And what do I mean by soul-led? Well, I made a video about a week or two back called The Trinity of Masculine Excellence. It's a part of my system and method to bring sovereignty in your own life so you're not the subject of your own thoughts, emotions, and intuitions. But in that video, I talk about the three pillars that exist within men and women, of course, but I specifically focus on men. You have the mind, you have the heart, and then you have the soul. All of us have all three of them. Each person, to varying degrees, has one more dominant than the other. Then you can also have yourself be subject to one of those three or a combination of the three. When you are soul-led, material possession, status, women, all those things that are deemed super important to you will lack the substance, the spiritual, the transcendent substance required to actually get you moving forward. Somebody with a more dominant mind will see things with logic, reason, strategy, preparation. And if you think about if you were, let's say, hyper dominant in the realm of mind and your brain, then what that means is it makes sense to make a ton of money. And to make a ton of money in a way that the market is needing right now. What is the way I can make that amount of cash in a short amount of time, or at least one that doesn't take forever? And so it makes sense, if you're that fixated on one of those pillars, that you just pursue those actions without really having to force yourself to do it. It's enough of a motivator. Now, it's the same thing with the heart. The heart is what? The heart is for resonance. It maintains humanity. I totally, absolutely butchered that one. You're more interested in connection. And so what that means for this individual, for this type, is that any job that requires them to be involved with people provides them enough satisfaction. Whether that be with teaching, nursing, it doesn't matter. I mean, it could be anything that requires you to be around people more often, a retail job, managerial position. For them, it's all about just connection, meeting people, getting to know them, sharing that energy, going back and forth. That's what's most important. Now, if you're soul-led, what does that mean? You are more of the intuitive, the dreamer, the outsider. Now, when I say outsider, I don't necessarily mean that you're a reject, but you find yourself very difficult to sit within any particular group. The popular ones, the ones that you feel like you should be wanting to be a part of, but you just don't understand, and perhaps you don't even understand why other people are. You are a lot more seeing things from the outside. You are also a lot more drawn to the transcendent. Something that exists outside of you. You have this deep connection to, again, when you have a deeper connection with your soul, you are also simultaneously building a deeper connection with God, with the entity that oversees the universe. You can use any language you want, but you are more connected to, or rather I should say, you are more interested in that connection and understanding that deeper knowledge that exists out there, more than you are interested in the material and all these other things that just lose absolute value not too long after you try to coax yourself into it. Now, what's really important to think about is how this has functioned throughout your life. And I'm going to do it through a personal example. And perhaps you have had the exact same thing. This is a belief I have about individuals who are more soul-led and how they actually choose what to do in their life. I have almost very rarely truly chosen what I've wanted to do. Not often am I sitting down and seeing an article that says, if you get into, let's say, the AI business, it's a booming economy. You're bound to make a ton of revenue, a ton of money, because you are jumping on this new wave. Something along those lines. I can never force myself into any of those things. I can't muscle it. No amount of will, no amount of ambition can get me to do it. However, when I was younger and I wanted to, learn some form of martial art because I was getting picked on a lot in my life, something within me said, we need to go to jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu is going to be the one that we have to pursue. If you asked me why, I honestly can't tell you why. The way I could describe it is a deep knowing. Something within me was just confirming that is the direction I have to go. And it did not require will. It didn't require force or motivation. It just happened, to be honest with you. Like, even now when I think about it, it was something that just sort of came over me. And I, of course, had to apply discipline and consistency and work ethic to it. You got to do something about it. But if you reflect on your own life, have you not found that to be the case? That you can't just tell yourself, oh, I'm going to do that and do it. For the most part, something bigger, something that is feeling a lot more important to go for, is almost given to you. And it can also be very easily taken away. And that's what's happened to me. When I started with jiu-jitsu, let's say it was right here. And by the way, the next video I'm going to make is going to really expand more on the idea of why is it that the universe, God, the life force holds back your destiny? Why doesn't it reveal to you what your purpose is? I'm going to go much more in a deeper breakdown in the next video that's going to come out this week. But regardless, I'm going to give it just a basic rundown. When I started with jiu-jitsu, it was over here. Okay, jiu-jitsu. I started because I wanted to get into a martial art. I was getting picked on a lot. And I also felt for some reason I had to pursue it. I had to just go into it, and I found it effortless to work towards. As I moved towards it, initially the goal was tournaments. I had to prepare to compete. Competing at the world level, the local level, that came somewhere along maybe like a year and a half into it. So I'll put comp. That one was a forced experience. I didn't enjoy competition. It made me way too anxious, way too nervous. This was also because of complexes and challenges that I had in my inner world that were not fully dealt with and dissolved, which is why, by the way, down below, I got a link to my waitlist for my Sovereign Brotherhood community. Individuals who are wanting to be sovereign, not subjects to their own thoughts, to their own emotions, and to their own intuition. Rather than you have no internal governance, therefore now leaving the outside world to determine how you think, feel, and act, you be the one. You be the one who decides and masters your inner world. That way you can move forward and feel connected to something bigger than you. And I've done this throughout my whole life, and I finally systematized it and created a method and an approach. So if that resonates with you and you want to be a part of a like-minded group of men who are on the same path, down below, click that link and join the waitlist. But along the way, as I competed, all of a sudden, something within me was just telling me to stop. And I couldn't explain why. And I was so frustrated because I thought to myself, I put so many years, so much time and effort into it. Why all of a sudden are you telling me to stop? And no matter how much I forced myself to say I want to go compete, the way I would describe it is, so my outside mind, my brain, right here, what you're looking at, was looking at the competition, but my inner eye was doing this, was like not wanting to look at it, was not wanting to accept it. And no matter how much shadow work, no matter how many, times I put into to dissolve my limiting beliefs, to tackle my self-concept, it did not help. And the more I resisted, the more I suffered. And so eventually I had to accept. I had to accept the reality that this was no longer the path that I'm on. And of course, I went through a period of absolute identity collapse. I attached a lot of myself to tournaments and the outcome and the confidence and the acceptance that it brought me, like I said, given the complexes I was dealing with. But this was not a fast journey, by the way. This took me years and years to digest and accept. It was really that bad. But then not too long after that, all of a sudden, another form of deep knowing came in. And that's to do this. And just like you, there is something within that is nagging at you to ignore to some degree what you're told that you have to accept, that you're told that you have to pursue. And instead, it's calling on to you to move in the direction that you feel you have to. My call to action is you have to go for it. And that's a difficult thing for me to advise, because speaking through the camera, I don't know what it is you want to go for. It could be for the good of mankind. It could be for your own selfish gains. But for those that are soul-led, I trust that fundamentally, what you're looking for is some great act of service. Something that you feel you are putting your life at stake for. Viktor Frankl has a really beautiful quote that I'm going to read for you because I cannot remember them for the life of me, but it's from the book Man's Search for Meaning. Success, like happiness, cannot be pursued. It must ensure as the unintended side effect of one's personal dedication to a cause greater than one's self. We're being called for something. There's enough people out there who are pursuing the material. There's enough of them. And there needs to be within that group those that want to act on something more transcendent, to utilize the gift that you have, the connection to something bigger than you, to act on. And you have to have faith. And this is one of the hardest things now, because we've moved towards such a secular society that for the soul-led man, this is suffocating. You are putting into question the gift that you have. And so now I want to give you the basic formula. If you're soul-led, how do you even organize yourself? How do you use the Trinity of Masculine to your benefit? For men like us, this is what we use to orient. This is what we use as our compass, our inner compass, to point to the direction we feel we need to go in. We will use our heart to maintain our humanity. Because often when you're soul-led and you really believe in its power and you are convinced of it because you've seen time and time again that it's paid off, like in my own life, as I've put faith into it, it pays off. It almost always done. It always does. Whether in a good outcome or bad outcome, it always ends up being for the better. And so you can very easily get arrogant about it, confident, callous towards other individuals. And so by maintaining your humanity, it allows this to stay pure and stay clean. Your mind is used for strategy, for planning, discipline. When the soul calls for you to act, your heart maintains humanity and your mind sets out the plan. You may not know the plan fully, but regardless, you have to move towards it. And this is something that I will tell you from my own personal experience. If you ignore it, you will suffer. You will hurt. God, it will nag you until you act. And so your suffering and your struggle has been because you've been perhaps trying to suppress the soul. And you've been using your mind a lot more when perhaps overemphasizing on the mind provides you anxiety, the fear of tomorrow. Or perhaps you've been overindulging in the heart, which then leads to stress and overthinking about relationships and how you look and how you're affecting people in a bad way, getting way too self-conscious. And so you're throwing yourself out of whack. The Trinity of Masculine is mastering the art of balancing the three relative to you. Everyone's balance is different. But the goal is to have them work in synergy. I guess I can use sort of like a infinity symbol. If you can figure out for yourself, of course, on your own is infinitely more difficult, but it is doable. It just takes a lot longer. But if you can find a way to synergize the three, this will keep you like a laser beam. Do not be afraid of it. Act on it. If you're feeling that pull, your soul is calling, God is calling, move towards it. Have faith in it. That's what you were born for. Because the alternative is you can try to force yourself to be interested in all these other things when you know you've tried it and you're not. You just can't get yourself into it. Subscribe to the channel, guys, because the next video will be breaking down how, and I should say, why God withholds your mission. What is it that he is seeking? What is that he wants from you first? And this, for individuals who are more soul-led, will make a lot of sense, and it's going to give you a lot of clarity and a lot of strength. Thank you very much, and I will see you on the next video.